Slamdown is sponsored by BODYSLAM and Jam, and WWE, Smack Talks, and Impact Fan Nation. Welcome to Slamdown livestream, and I've got to admit, Payback was, and I'm going to do it, I ain't done it in a while, was totally delightful. Yeah, that one thing that I really noticed from Payback was the broken Matt Hardy was portrayed more. That was the main thing that stuck out from the show. I did do a theory on the prediction show where I said a way that the WWE could bring the broken character in, and I think I'm partly right. I did say about Matt Hardy getting the big boot kick. That happened. Matt was laid out on the floor. We've heard about Jeff getting his tooth fixed, but we didn't hear anything about Matt Hardy, which makes me believe on Raw we could see broken Matt. I might just be clutching at straws here, but to me it seemed more of a chance that they were going to bring that character in with the way they done Payback. One thing I will say about Payback as well, it was probably one of the... I'm going to say... I can't really say it was better than WrestleMania, but it's the best pay-per-view so far. The matches were brilliant. There was probably one match on the whole card which let the show down. But, you know, I know it was meant to be a Raw pay-per-view, but it still had a feeling of a mixed pay-per-view from having both brand matches on there. And I know this was because of the shake-ups, but it still felt like it was a shared pay-per-view card. I wouldn't say that was a bad thing, but I've got to admit, Payback was a lot better. It surprised me. There was a lot of angles which I didn't think they were going to go the way they did. I was impressed. You know, especially when Raw and SmackDown have been bad. And, you know, I'm not going to lie on this. They've been bad. But this was the shining light for me. I think, you know, the pay-per-view made up for how bad Raw and SmackDown was this week. I'm just hoping with such a good pay-per-view that they can continue it and continue the high. Normally, I'm very critical on the WWE, and I have said, show-wise, Impact Wrestling was better this week, and I still stand by that. But if I had to do all wrestling shows so far, Payback would be number one, Impact Wrestling, and then Raw and SmackDown joint last. I know there's people that's going to disagree with me on that, but I'm just giving you my view on this. You know, the whole point of Slamdown is a show for the fans. It's by the fans, for the fans. I should put that on a t-shirt, shouldn't I? Because that actually sounds pretty good. For the fans, by the fans. See, look, I'm giving myself ideas. The Taz Show has their jobbers t-shirts and their good moments. But I think I've just come up with ours. But back to Payback itself. Brilliant. You know, I'm trying to pull out a negative. I'm trying to pull out something, but I really can't. I will be diving into the show in depth in a minute. But yeah, to me, best. It shocked me in a lot of ways. It shocked me because a couple of points that I did notice, that it's PG era. Right, we all know it's PG era. But to me, the show didn't feel like a PG era. I know there was a few cock-ups. You know, I know people have noticed the blood capsule given to Roman Reigns. But hey, you know, it was a lot better than what we've had. You know, and I stick by that. It's a lot better than what we had last year. I was worried about the shake-up. You know, I was worried about SmackDown looking weaker. But I know it was a Raw exclusive pay-per-view. But if they can keep this momentum going, and if they can keep to the quality of what Payback was, then they're in good stead. The only thing that bugged me was this is meant to be your pay-per-view. You know, you build up 4 weeks for it. Why was it shorter than an episode of Raw? Didn't get that. Surely the pay-per-view should be at least 4 hours long. Well, sorry, no. I'm going to say at the most 4 hours long. If it was over 4 hours, I think people would be turning off. But that's how long it's meant to be. Where this show was 2 hours, 45 minutes. That's how long it showed me on the network, how long it went on for. So it's a bit like, right, okay, this is your big pay-per-view, but why is it shorter than a Raw episode? I know it's probably about the same if you include adverts on Raw, so it's probably about the same. And I know they had Raw talk, but I would have rather a bit of a longer pay-per-view. Some of the matches they could have probably made a bit longer. Or, you know, they could have added more to it. You know, there was room. But maybe that's what made it a better pay-per-view, because it wasn't so a bogged-down card. You know, I'd love to hear your theories on what you think made Payback better. And I will say, it was better. I was going to say something else, but I can't remember. But anyway, let's actually dig into the Payback card itself. On the kickoff show, we saw Enzo Amore, Big Kaz, taking on the Club. Now, I'm starting to feel they're pushing down the Club a bit and pushing Enzo Amore and Big Kaz. I still think Big Kaz is going to end up going on his own. I just have an eerie feeling about it. I think that's the way they're going to go. It's just the way it's portrayed. You know, Enzo Amore looks more like a joke act. You know, he's got the mic skills, but his wrestling ability is not all that. I know he managed to get the pin. You know, when Big Kaz came and hit one of the guys with a big boot, and then Enzo Amore managed to turn the Club's finishing move into a pinning submission and get the victory. I can't say it was a brilliant match, but it was a good match. It was a good kickoff match. After that, we saw Finn Balor, and also I just want to say before I get on to the next bit, yes, I was wrong. I predicted the Club to win, and I was wrong. We saw Finn Balor laid waste to the A-lister. As we know, on Miz TV, always ends up with the Miz getting beaten up. And if the Miz is not getting beaten up, then I'll be disappointed. The only thing for me, it made Finn Balor look weak on the mic. You know, his promos are not great, but his wrestling ability is brilliant. But then, people are going to hate me for this. It's like Roman Reigns. He's not the best on the mic. He just really isn't. But his wrestling ability is improved. But with Finn Balor, he's always had a good wrestling ability. He's just not so great at talking. I think that probably will develop over time. I think people need to be patient with that. But it felt like it was just a filler. It was just something to put on the kickoff show. I think they're trying to protect Finn Balor as well because of the concussion. So I think they're trying to protect him a bit more. But I don't know if he needs protecting. I think he needs to be, I think there should have been a match on a card with him. Even if it was just a small against a lower opponent. Build up the momentum for him. He's already said he wants Brock Lesnar, which we could see that happen. I think realistically, I think it's going to be more Braun Strowman actually goes for the Brock Lesnar. I think that's the way, looking at booking wise, it's going to go. I can't see them putting anybody else in that frame. I really can't. I think it is going to be Braun Strowman, especially with what happened at Payback. It's the only way to go. I'm just trying to think what else I can say about it. Really, not that much. We did see the card has been moved around a bit because Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens was kicking off the show, which I thought that was coming a bit later in the card. But Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens. WrestleMania, their match was okay. This match was 10 times better. The aggression on Jericho was brilliant. The way everything was done to perfection. I liked it that Jericho focused on that hand. And also it was a good way to end the storyline where the hell did Joker come from? Where Jericho actually managed to get the victory in this. It's a good way to end it, but I've got a feeling it's not going to end there. With Chris Jericho winning the US title, he's now going to SmackDown, and Kevin Owens is on SmackDown. So, I'm sorry, but I think this angle is going to continue. I don't think this is going to be the end. The way they're doing it, I can't see it being the end. I think they're going to continue this rivalry. It's going to go on longer. More people are going to get fed up with it, and it's going to bore us. The way it ended on Payback should be the end of this rivalry. Now, the reason why I've got a bit of confusion with this is you've said Kevin Owens is the face of America. You've made, all the US thing. He's the face of America, the stupid gimmick, but he's not US champion anymore. So how are you going to pull that gimmick off? And like I said, the only way this can work is Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens beats Jericho, gets the title back. I think that's the way it's going to go. If Chris Jericho holds the title, I don't want to see Chris Jericho, AJ Styles again. I want to see AJ go against someone new. I don't want to see a backlash that he goes against Chris Jericho for the title. Please, please no. Please don't do it to us. Please don't put us to suffering of another Kevin Owens and Jericho match. We've had our Kevin Owens and Jericho match. End the rivalry there. I'm still not keen on the gimmick they're using Kevin Owens. I like him as the KO, doesn't give a crap, kicks people ass. I said it on the prediction show. I think that's the way they need to go with it. I was wrong on this prediction. I thought it was going to be Kevin Owens. So, another one I got wrong. Normally at these prediction shows, I'm spot on. But this time, the WWE threw a massive curveball. And I hate them for it. Why couldn't they just keep it as they have been, and then I would have had all of my predictions right? Damn them. But yeah, right. Going on from that, we saw Austin Aries taking on Neville. I did say I think Austin Aries should win this, but I did say I think the WWE are going to go for Neville, and I was right. But it seems they want to continue this storyline. You know, they had Austin Aries win the match, but he only won the match because Neville got disqualified by pulling the referee. Now, I don't like disqualifications at pay-per-views. I think they've led this rivalry on long enough. If they're not going to put the title on Austin Aries, start a new feud, but I do think there's going to be another match. They could probably do it at 205 Live. Austin Aries taking on Neville. We'll just have to wait and see. Or they could even do a rematch on Raw. After that, we had the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Hardy Boys, taking on Cesaro and Sheamus. Now, I'm not a big fan of Cesaro and Sheamus. I just think they're probably better off on going on their own. I do believe I do believe Cesaro should have a run on his own. I think he's better having a run on his own. I just personally think overall he'd be better going for the main title. But it was a good match. We saw Jeff Hardy lose a tooth. And we saw more of the broken gimmick. You know, in commentary, we heard Cody Graves going, I think Matt's in another universe. Obviously, that was another reference to the broken character. We saw Matt Hardy getting the fans chanting delete. We heard the obsolete chants. And one of the things, we saw him putting his opponent's head into the turnbuckle, repeatedly hit that person's head on the turnbuckle, which is a broken Matt Hardy trait. So I had a theory about this, that the Hardys would lose these titles, and that's when we'd see Matt become broken. But I believe this is going to be the other way round. I think with Matt being taken out, I think that's what's going to lead to him being broken. Because we saw Jeff Hardy getting treatment for his lost tooth, but we didn't hear anything about Matt. Not one thing. Making me believe at Raw, we could possibly see Matt Hardy be broken. Now, if that happens, I think it'd be brilliant. It will stop the Hardys from being stale. We have seen a couple of tweets as well from Matt Hardy that sort of teases that broken character. But he has teased that broken character is coming to the WWE for a while now. So I'm just fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed that we see the broken gimmick. I know it started in Impact Wrestling. I don't care. I just think it would be pull the fans in more. It'll give more engagement to the Hardys as well, and it'll make them stand out. So I'm hoping that we get the broken gimmick. But the way they left Payback, they could do it. Because we did see when the Hardys were celebrating, Sheamus and Cesaro came down and attacked the Hardys, beat down on them, which was nice to see Sheamus and Cesaro go heel. You know, they've been playing the good guys. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe it's playing the face isn't working for them. Maybe going over to being heel is probably a better bet. We'll have to wait and see on this, but I quite liked them playing the heel side. So I'm interested in Raw tonight. I'll watch it tomorrow because I'm UK, but I'm interested to see what happens on Raw. After that, we saw Alexa Bliss taking on Bayley. Now, I thought this was going to be a Bayley victory. Another thing, I did actually get a prediction right. I got a prediction right. I did say the Hardy Boys would keep the titles. Anyway, but Alexa Bliss took on Bayley to become took on Bayley in Bayley's hometown. Now, with this angle, I so thought this was going to be a Bayley win, being in her hometown, and it's typical when you're in someone's hometown that they will win. It's just the way it's been done. So it was a shocker to me that Bayley didn't win this. Alexa Bliss got the victory on Bayley at Bayley's hometown. Wow. And it was another good, solid performance. All the matches have been solid. All of them together, except for one, and I'll get onto that a bit later. It was a good match. We'll probably see Bayley get a rematch, probably be on Raw. After that, we saw some Seth Rollins taking on Samoa Joe. This was another solid match. We saw Samoa Joe focus on that ankle. Seth Rollins got a fluke pinfall on Samoa Joe when Samoa Joe had the choke lock, and Seth Rollins rolled him on the side and managed to get the pin victory. But I noticed that one of the shoulders of Samoa Joe wasn't flat on the mat. Now, I don't know if they're going to use this on Raw. Samoa Joe goes, "You didn't pin me." I don't know. I can see why Seth Rollins got the victory in this. Because, Samoa Joe is still kind of new to the roster. But it was a good, solid match. Right. Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, House of Horrors match. Shoot me. Someone shoot me. Bray Wyatt is meant to be, a cult figure. And this House of Horrors was more about spooky and ghouls than about a cult. There was nothing really scary about the house. It just looked like a poor person's house. I'm sorry, but it did. We saw the house change colours. We saw Randy Orton thrown into a lampshade, which in another scene, the lampshade and the light was fine. Okay, how did that work? It seemed very poorly put together. I would have rather seen the house burn down. It didn't look great to me. It was just poor. It was, at least with Final Deletion, it was in a forest. We saw fireworks being shot at an opponent, hiding under the boat, had a bit of comedy. This was poor. There was nothing to it. It was just bad. Something with Bray against Orton's not working, and I'm hoping this is the end of it. This was advertised as a WWE Champions match, and even the match card on the WWE website still advertised it for the WWE Championship. So I did not know they took the title off. But we did see Bray Wyatt get the victory, and hopefully this is the end of it. Didn't really like that when they did get into the ring to fight, that Jinder Mahal got involved and the Sling Brothers. To end a storyline, I really think this should have been a clean-cut end. If Bray Wyatt was going to win this, he should have won it clearly. And then at the end of the match, you seen these come out. Didn't like the way that finished. It was the only blip of the card, in my opinion. Can't pick anything else out. To me, that's the only blip. After that, we saw Braun Strowman taking on Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns in a main event again. Way! Oh, for God's sake. But I know Roman Reigns is booed heavily. I can understand why, because the way he was used to starting off. They do need to flip Roman Reigns heel by now, but the fans were cheering Braun Strowman for beating up Roman Reigns. And even the chant, "Thank you, Strowman." You know, Roman Reigns really played it well with having the injured body. He played it brilliantly. But the way that Braun Strowman was attacking on his injury points was brutal. We did see Roman Reigns get beat by Braun Strowman. But that wasn't even the best part. For me, the best part, end of the match, Braun Strowman picks up the steel steps, comes into the ring and slams the steel steps on Roman Reigns, and we see blood everywhere, which someone has pointed out. They saw the referee give Roman Reigns a blood capsule, but I'm sorry, I don't care. I still enjoyed it. I quite liked the way Braun Strowman got the victory on this, and I would love to see Braun Strowman go against Brock Lesnar next. That's what I want to see. That's what I think we should see, and I've got my fingers crossed and toes crossed. That's what happens next. But it was definitely a big improvement. I enjoyed the pay-per-view. That one match out of the whole card, the House of Horrors put me off the show. But the rest, to me, was brilliant. Done perfectly. It just makes me excited to see what we lead to next. The couple of points, I think Raw is going to be very intriguing tonight. I'm looking forward to Raw to see what way they can continue this, and which direction they're going to go with this as well. So I'm positive on what happens next. So that's it for this show. I will be doing the Raw review tomorrow at 9 p.m. GMT. I just want to say big thanks to everybody that's watching. If you've just come on now, or you've missed the start of the show, we will be on the YouTube and on the website if you've missed this, and also on iTunes. So a big thank you to everybody listening. I've been your host, Ashley Frand, and I'll catch you tomorrow with the Raw review.